from my lineage, from the Maori lineage. Spirituality is spoken of as, or described sometimes as, memory, remembering. The phrase we use for spirituality is wairua tapu. Wairua tapu. And so the sharing of the wairua tapu is to share the memory, the eternal memory, the eternal remembering. And so the wairua tapu in our spirituality is to, through the remembering, to activate and initiate others to their higher self and their higher consciousness, to their path, through their path of remembering, so that one may purify that which does not serve and has not served, to be aware of certain memories that perhaps play a role in your present life, that can sometimes interfere, sometimes cause blockages. And so spirituality, as I understand it for the Māori, that as we remember, we are able to breathe new life into our future memories, into our potential memories, into our potentiality, ancestral potentiality. To breathe new life into it is to take the time and make the effort to remember. And so, as a Māori, in this lifetime, in this lineage, my work on this planet is to remind you and also to let you know that we remember you also. And as we remember you, and perhaps as you begin to remember, we may be able to say to each other, it's good to see you again. You're back. It's good to see you again. You're back. Give me a hug. And the phrasing that I have come to understand the essence of this recognition, just through remembering, and the essence that I speak to this in a phrase is the word, or the energy, the vibration, the frequency, and the magnetic power of this phrase, which is kimuria, which is the essence that speaks of a moment a very long time ago that is ever present in the all now, certainly now. Kimuria. So this to me is the first embrace. And so spirituality, through the remembering, allows for kimuria. Oh, you're back. Good to see you again. The first embrace. Now that's how I see, and that's how I understand the world around me and the world inside of me, and the world that I am inside of with others, that I am inside of them also, that we are in each other, that to remind each other that we hold each other in the darkness until the light comes. And so when the remembering is here, recognized, clarity comes, the light comes. And so to me, that is what spirituality is. And I find for myself, I find so much joy in it. You know, it's neither an institution or a religion, neither it is a structure. It does carry all that you know. You only have to remember. It's not a matter of learning, although one must allow guidance to come if that is their spiritual path, or if they are on a spiritual path. One would allow the guidance to come, assistance. And so when one is called, he or she will come forth to initiate the Wairu Tapu, the incredible eternal memory. Yes, there are very powerful totems in the Maori culture, in the Maori people, and also many that I love. For the Maori, there are the bird tribes, there are the aquatic tribes, there are the four-legged. Okay, so one ancient totem, one ancient animal is known as the moa, spelled M-O-A. You can Google that. The moa was of the bird tribe. And the moa was over 10 feet tall. Kind of like an ostrich on steroids. Big neck, big body, big giant legs, and over 10 feet tall. There are skeletons in museums in New Zealand. And this bird, the moa bird, espoused, and emits powerful energy, powerful strength, speed, and stamina. And of course, was nutrition and sustenance for the longevity of our tribes. And then, so became extinct. But we often have, if it's very rare to find one, but the feathers from the moa bird made a very rare and very precious cloak. So sharing and being a part of this incredible creature's Wairu Tapu, its spirituality, its energy, its vibration, by having ceremony and honoring to partake in this incredible being's feathers and the feathered cloak. So the moa bird is very rare, but a powerful totem energy for the Maori people. Another one is, of course, the kiwi bird. A little bird, a very rare bird, only indigenous to New Zealand. Has a long beak, has a round, chubby little body, and has no wings. It cannot fly. It is responsible for clearing the floor of our forests. It's responsible for that. And in it too, as well, was a powerful gift and a powerful sacred totem, again, for its feathers, and again, as a cloak, or what we call the kurowai. The kurowai of the kiwi bird and the kiwi feathers, very precious, very rare. Although they don't do that anymore, but the cloaks that did exist and do exist are very rare, and some are in museums. I am not too sure if there are many elders remaining that have the kiwi feathered cloak. that was passed down. So the kiwi bird. Another bird, a wonderful, very respected, powerful bird is the toro, which is the albatross. Okay? The albatross of the royal blue bloodline, the albatross is known to the Maori people as the bird of peace. An incredible, powerful being that has a very pure heart. Like, it espouses purity. It has only one mate throughout its lifetime and has only one child, typically one. And if its mate passes, it will not find another mate. It will not look for another mate. One love only, okay? Just one eternal love, representing eternal love and family and cohesive family unit. And so the albatross, again, is as the sacred feathers, and is such a rare and precious cloak, also made from the wings of the feathers of the toro. Also, its bones, its wing bones especially, they make a powerful flute, a mystical flute called the kuowo. The kuowo from the albatross or the toro, a very mystical, magical sounding flute that is in the frequency that can offer transcendence and magical connections to the cosmos and to the remembrance, to the frequencies that come from this particular bone flute, kuowo, this flute from the albatross. And so, of course, our friends and the most celebrated ones, the humpback whale, okay, or the tohora, which is particularly the humpback whale. Hugely celebrated, immensely celebrated, on the scale of just cosmic scale celebration. The most celebrated being that I understand, the most celebrated being on the planet is the humpback. Its relationship to the Maori people is, again, very sacred. The humpback whale shares cosmic knowledge, but the way that this is done is when the humpback whale travels to New Zealand into the Antarctic to have its babies, or even just south of New Zealand. As it's taking its journey, it will travel along the coastlines, typically the west coast, but it doesn't really matter. It's the timing of when it does land. So when it does travel down the coastlines to have its babies, there's a particular tree that is blooming at that moment, and it is the biggest tree in New Zealand typically. It's about 130 feet high, and oftentimes 14 to 20 feet in diameter. It's a very big tree. This tree is called the Cody tree. And so when the Cody tree is blooming, we know the humpback whales are coming. We know the tohora is coming down. So we look for this. And this is in the month of September in New Zealand. Okay, this is spring. It's coming down just before spring to have the babies. And so that relationship between the whale and the land through the tree, that connection that we recognize, as there are many instances with many animals that you can synchronize. And so we give that recognition and respect to tohora and the Cody tree in terms of, if you're talking about totems, then you have the biggest tree in New Zealand and you have one of the biggest beings on the planet, synchronizing and blooming and giving birth at the same time. Yeah, this is wonderful. And of course, the Cody tree is utilized for our sacred canoes and our sacred implements in conjunction with the tohora. Should you receive a whale bone from the tohora as an ornament, and adornment, that you can synchronize these and align these together. So the totem and the whale, absolutely. I think those, of course, there is the orca, which is the black and white, which offers balance. We speak to this as the marquee. We understand, my understanding, the orca prefers the language of marquee rather than orca and its stereotypes, killer whale. It is a very powerful family unit, and there's balance there. So the orca and also the turtle, of course, right? The honu motu or honu, cosmic knowledge, very, very unlikely character sometimes, as the turtle is slow on land but swift underwater. In its environment, yeah. But the land is its environment, and the ocean is its environment. Very, very key understanding as we have that relationship between the land and the water. So the honu is important there. So much more knowledge garnered from the turtle. There are sacred implements created by the turtle shell. If you receive a turtle rattle or make a turtle drum, this is a sacred implement that also offers the wairuato, the eternal memory. And of course, the dolphin, the rehu or terehu or rehu, quite simply rehu, which is an alignment to the stargate. It's an alignment to the stargate, as well as the tohora. The alignment for the tohora is the stargate kahu, and for the dolphin, the alignment to the stargate is rehu. So they have their cosmic and constellational alignments, of course, as many totems do. This is also aligned to birth signs, yeah, and the birth signs of Lemuria. Truly coming to understand the essence of Lemuria and the constellations that are aligned to the birth sign. And also, we speak of these as medicine, right? Medicine. The aquatic medicine, the whenua, the medicine of the land, or the kawakawa, we say. Totally all related to each other, plant and animal, land, water, sky. I think another one, and finally, another animal in the bird kingdom for the Maori is the tui. There are many birds and parrots, very large parrots and incredible birds of New Zealand that are rare to New Zealand. But this particular one is called the tui. And it has one white feather under in its throat chakra. It's a very incredible voice. And it used to be long ago where the tui's feather, white feather, was so rare that if you had a cloak made from the tui feather, that's a lot of tui birds. Of course, this was the things we did. Right? We did trap and snare the tui. We did have ceremony with the tui. We did recognize what the tui medicine would bring for those who wore the cloak, what it would mean for the remembering, what it would be and mean for the initiation, be that of a chief, and what that would be, and what these totems and what these beings bring to each other, what would bring to each other. it does sound like we just keep taking. We also give. And there is a giving and a taking relationship. There is a relationship, a symbiotic relationship with each other here. And as we see all beings as part of the memory, as those and ones who will initiate and activate the eternal memory, the Wairu Tapu, the sacredness, that we are reminded to continue receiving and then also gifting sacredness as part of our cosmology with the totems, or you call totem, we refer to this as the po, or the popo. Popo. And so that's a wonderful question. Now I miss the tui and the kiwi. I don't see them much these days. So thank you for that question. Though the hummingbird is not in New Zealand, there is another bird called the fantail, and there's another bird called the koremaka, the bellbird. They are similar family members, especially the fantail. So so we speak to this as titi. We speak to these tiny birds, the tiny voice, as titi. In particular for the hummingbird, tirani. Now, the hummingbird, as I share as tirani, is my birth sign. In my work, and it has been extensive. My mission, my joys, has been extensive. And in the healing work or the expansion work, thereby bringing healing, I've confirmed my connection to the hummingbird, or to tirani, the tiny voice from heaven. And I understand it as the one who calls the stargates, this tiny voice. In other words, tirani is the one who calls the stargates, the tiny voice from heaven. Now, the hummingbird had come to me, the tirani had come to me just before I was to activate my first stargate, activate and initiate, and then seal my first stargate. Many years ago, that the location where I was to do this activation was a place called Hummingbird Ranch in the mountains of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, New Mexico. Hummingbird Ranch. This was my first moment, the first moment I had agreed to do a retreat, what you call a retreat. Something that I wasn't used to. In my culture, we don't say retreat. We do speak of relaxation, stillness, and meditation in another way, right? In our system. Nevertheless, this location came on the radar, and it was called Hummingbird Ranch. And then when I went to do this retreat, many hummingbirds came, and then the stargate, the understanding and the knowledge of the stargate came, the constellation, and the question was put to me to upgrade the frequency of the stargates, and I was to begin there. And so that was my first initial, really, truly high vibration connection to the understanding that I am one who can call the stargates. The hummingbird having my birth sign also being Aquarius at that time, my Gregorian birth sign, let me say. I was understanding that when the new Earth arrived, that stargate frequencies and the codes were going to change to allow and invite the new Earth to enter, and along with its new star grids, its new alignments, and the raising of its vibration. Of course, all of the work in the ley lines and the stargates had to be completed, had to be at least begun and started, had to at least be recognized, had to at least uh, uh, be transmitting the information for myself and others to download and then upload and upload in ceremony. And so my birth sign, Aquarius, was swallowed, and I say it was swallowed by the hummingbird. So my birth in February, born in 1964, on February 3rd, and my birthing in the short count calendar would put me at a dragon energy, which is appropriate for what I do and have come to know. Yeah, especially from the place that I was born in this lifetime, which is the white dragon, that which is New Zealand, Tanimaro. And so confirmation of the hummingbird or tirani began when I began doing the activation for the Stargate. It was also, there were also 24 seals that I was doing that weekend with 24 masters, 24 shamans from different Native American tribes, cultures, as well as non-Native from the European tribes. And I was doing the seal ceremonies for them and aligning them to the living light and the light of the child. That's what I did. I had done this quite a long time before that ritual. And so they were requesting that they be sealed in the living light. And that those seals took place at this particular Stargate. And the hummingbird was absolutely instrumental in that. The recognition, the confirmation, the experience that everyone received, the gifts that were received by many, certainly myself, as I was prompted to share. So I decided, okay, I finally said yes. I had a retreat. And so the hummingbird has replaced Aquarius. And what do I mean by that? Well, Aquarius simply is the air sign. And as you see, the baling, the vase, the picture that is tilted, it looks like water, but it's air. And the Aquarius is speaking to the water of the breath, right? The water of the breath. Now, I espouse to Chihe Modi Ora, which means the sacred breath. I espouse to this book. That's part of the sacredness of Waidiwatapu. And so that is also alignment to my birth sign that the hummingbird had swallowed the water breath and now is speaking with the sacred breath, which is required to call stargates to higher frequencies. One's breath must be sacred. Sacred beyond the self, even sacred beyond the human DNA. The effort is congratulated, the effort is confirmed, and the gifts come from these efforts. That is part of your mission, or it's certainly my mission, one's mission. And so Aquarius is now in the throat chakra of the hummingbird, the tiny voice from heaven. Yeah, the koremako, or the fantail, these tiny voices that are heavenly. And if you watch a hummingbird closely, you'll see it's darting around to many portals. It's opening and closing. It's kissing the portals. It's flying over and everywhere. It's so quick. Portals are opening on the land and the water and the sky. So it has that ability to kiss the portal. And so that's how I see it. And that's when I've recognized it in ceremony, because I've had to call in the hummingbird. I've had to call the hummingbird in. It was one time, it was January 1st. It was a Gregorian New Year. It was 11 a.m. And I went up into the Rainbow Vista Mountain in the Valley of Fire, in Nevada, in Moapa Valley. I had to go up there and I had to send a message for a ceremony that I knew I had to do. And so what I did is I went to the mountain and I sent a message to the hummingbird. I just sent the message to the hummingbird. This was many years. This was before hummingbird runs. Now that I remember, it was before that retreat. And I was preparing my tools, and so I had to send a message out on the top of the Rainbow Vista Mountain in the Valley of Fire to the hummingbird, and that I will wait for the hummingbird's answer. The message was, I need authority and recognition to go into the forest to speak to the elder tree, the grandfather tree. That was the specific instruction I sent. And then I sat around at home waiting for the message. And the message came January, February, March, April, end of March. No, it was before the end of March. So 3 months I waited for the message, the reply. I get a text message from one of the Hunas that I had sealed way back then. And the message was, oh, 3 hummingbirds just came onto my patio and started dancing around. It wouldn't go away. As soon as I heard that, I went, okay, thank you. I have been invited to. The intention was to go to the river, the Yuba River in the border of Nevada and California, which is near Nevada City, the Grass Valley. This is a particular river that's very important. So because of the hummingbird, I went to the Grass Valley, I went to the forest, and I was in a cabin. I was there for 3 days, and I'm waiting for the hummingbird. I just got to keep waiting. It's very cold. It's still winter, some snow on the ground, and hummingbirds will not usually come out at that time. So I'll go outside one morning to log in at my 7 a.m. at the edge of the forest, outside the cabin, and this hummingbird comes shooting, darting in front of me, starts dancing around, playing hide and seek with me, like hiding behind the bushes, doing this, flying around. Then it goes up onto a branch and it sits there. And I go into the song because I was logging in. It came in during the login. So I started singing at the end of my login. I was singing the song. So I was singing the login. And it started bobbing its head. It stayed with me for quite a few minutes. Just kept bobbing. And then I knew then that when the hummingbird stays with you and it starts dancing with you, then you are recognized to enter, and you've been given permission to enter the forest. Now this particular hummingbird had a ruby red chest, bright green, not really bright green, but powerful emerald cloak wings over its back. So it's the emerald color. Wings and a ruby red chest. And I knew what that meant. Right, so I go to the forest and I do the ceremony for the Yuba River because California was in a drought. When I finished that ceremony, a month later, California and its reservoirs were being overflooded, and the Sacramento River peaked and was overflowing. And that year was 2014, 2013. And that was the hummingbird. I gave recognition, and I did the haka and the dance to thank the grandfather tree, which I spoke to the river and the hummingbird, and begin to understand that I can call the stargates. I have them in my voice. I have the tiny voice of heaven. And that's my birth sign, my motu, tirani motu. You can be in this world, but not of it. Aligned to the new earth, and the name of the new earth is Matia. Huna Matia, one light and many lights in one. Huna Matia, which simply means the new light, planet of new light. Ma, first light, new light. Tia, planet or earth. Okay, so align to this. And when you align to this, you understand that Ha'ia or Gaia, as mostly the Americans say Gaia, but it is pronounced Ha'ia, that the sacred breath is returned to the light. So Gaia has ascended to the divine union and is in the light now, known and spoken of as Matia. And we refer to this planet as Huna Matia. So be in it, but not of it. And smile. Okay? Smile. Smiling can defeat the codes of the adrenochrome. This is important because when you speak fear and you speak of fighting, whether good or bad or for the good or for the light, when you speak fighting, you're instantly speaking of fear. And fear is a component that creates adrenochrome, and not just for the blood, for the terrorizing of children, but it puts that code into the land, water, sky. Let us not share the fear. And you know what it is. But I'll simply say it straight up to you. Fear creates adrenochrome in the vibration, in the frequency, energy, and magnetics. And that is what the dark ones feed on. Not only the blood of the children. Okay? So be in it, but not of it. And see the planet of new light. The planet of new light. Huna Matia. See that. Thank you so much.